Welcome to Imperfect in an Uncertain World, resources for living with authenticity and purpose. It's been a tough week. And what struck me is that there's no more running. There's no more hiding. Where do we go from here? Let's talk. I have spent the last 6 days reflecting upon national events and running from what I found, only to return again to reflect. This has been a really tough one for me. It's a tough time. And I generally have a very optimistic view. I can reframe about any situation. But I really have a difficult time understanding how some people will go to outrageous limits to incite anger in others, and that some people will go to even more outrageous limits to express that anger. Honestly, man, it's been a tough week to be an American. And I wonder, how did we as a nation get to this point? And, after a review of history, I can cite a series of events that led us here. I could also cite individual and collective responses and reactions to those events that have exacerbated what we're experiencing. I could talk about how disturbing the past 4 years have been. I could even point fingers and make a lot of people really angry at the results of my critical thinking. In effect, what I could do is throw more gas on our wildfire. Instead, in order to understand how my life experience has evolved in the past 4 years, I dug into the past. I pulled out the blogs that I wrote the week of the election and the 2 weeks after in 2016. And as I reviewed them, I asked myself, where were you emotionally, spiritually, and mentally during that time? And how did that impact your sharing of your vision with others? And more importantly, how has your vision changed in these 4+ years? So let's begin. I named on November 8th, 2016, the day of the election. My blog was We Are in This Together. And what I wrote was, we are at a point at which we can no longer ignore the polarization that has become increasingly more evident over the past year or so. Good people, really all of us, have been hurt in some way or another, but we often do not have a way of channeling the hurt. We get stuck in an endless cycle of being hooked, lashing out, and being hooked yet again. This gap between us and them will continue to widen until we stop our own personal cycle. In this place that we find ourselves of less than peace, we are not aware of how our judgments and beliefs create our fragile personal reality, which really is comprised of both authentic and the illusory. We get so stuck in fear that we cannot even identify the illusions. The only way to increase peace in ourself and the world is by courageously identifying our wounds, our illusions, and our authentic. How do we step into this place of peace? This begins simply and perhaps not so easily with ourselves. Now, that's what I wrote 4 years ago. And while I still know that we are in this together, the polarization has grown, and I'm not even sure how in this together looks like anymore. I even admit to edging farther and farther left, even though those steps have, for me at times, been a painful recognition of the illusions that I fostered about the world and about the way people are treated. What I have witnessed is that instead of creating a country where we can all live together, certain factions have created something or have attempted to create something in their own image. And what we have got as a result is a version of in this together that is not a welcoming community. I still believe, though, that we have the tools to be an inclusive, equitable community. Building that community begins with challenging ourselves individually and collectively, to name what is true and what is an illusion. We must courageously meet this challenge, no matter how disconcerting, no matter how embarrassing. The question that I find myself asking, that I'm going to challenge you to ask yourself over and over again, is what catches me? And in that answer, we can discover what is preventing us individually and collectively from creating a nation that really is aware of injustice and inequity, and take steps to resolve the injustice and the inequity. Within that answer is an implicit agreement to work together to create a community that is comprised of people who really are in this together. So, how have I changed in the past 4 years? I can no longer go back to sleep or be silently complicit in the beliefs of another by agreeing to disagree. So, in the fragility of the world, I will say, I hear you, but I don't agree with you. November 15th, 2016. Compassion's visible commitment. Wearing a safety pin for me represents an intentional, tangible way of closing a gap of separateness and uncertainty while offering compassion and support. So I bought safety pins, quilter safety pins, in honor of my mom, who was a quilter. I believe that my mom, a woman with a big, compassionate heart, would probably have worn a safety pin of solidarity and offered a haven for anyone in need. You see, my mom was the manager of an elementary school's cafeteria. She had this knack to see past the surface illusions and into the heart of each child. Mom served a smile and a spoonful of compassion with every meal. So I wear this simple metal piece positioned just to the left of my heart near my shoulder. That safety pin is a quiet beacon for people to notice. The connection with intimate strangers is more immediate than ever before. Our conversations are rich as we share our commitment to the meaning of the safety pin, how it provides a tiny point of light in the dark for the wearer, how we hope the light connects with others and provides solace, how this symbol illuminates us and others with fragile rays of compassion. Fast forward to today, I sometimes happen upon a sweater that still has one of those quilter's pins on it, and I wear it with the pin attached. I wonder what my mom, who, although not political and would have worn that pin, would think about the chasms that divide her own family today. And I really could get stuck in that rabbit hole of wondering, so I stopped my meandering. But for me, that safety pin continues to be a symbol of my fragile belief that all should be welcome at the table. The belief that while we need to protect those who are hated and feared for who they are, we can come together. It will take a lot of work, but that crazy optimist in me believes that even after what has happened, that one union is still possible. That safety pin to me is more than a welcoming symbol. It is a clear reminder for me that I have an obligation to stand strong, to be compassion in a world with a growing divide. That I am a light in an increasingly dark world. The light glints off the safety pin in a message of hope. Wearing that pin is an act of daring, a response of change. I realize that I may not be able to pin the world together, but I can pin myself to others through compassion, respect, and awareness. And pin by pin by pin, we create a more equitable, a more just, a more compassionate world. And I realize that while this may not happen in the moment, we must begin in this moment. So I commit to being the pin that connects one another and even pricks the unaware until they wake up from their illusions and stand in the truth of what could be. I will not stop until we have a world that is safe, just, and equitable for everyone, because we truly are in this together. So, the final blog I want to talk about was written on November 22nd, in which I entitled A Brave new world. I've had a reality check. You know, one of those hair sizzling jolts that shakes us in the ground of our being. Collectively and individually, we have been shocked. We are awake with a new awareness. Eyes open, this new view is not an easy one for me to see, but within me is a growing awareness that we have a choice. We can choose to continue the path of divisiveness and be paralyzed by fear, or we can choose a new way, a brave way of navigating our reality. I see possibilities seeping through the cracks and crevices of this new reality. It encourages us to live courageously, daringly, and curiously. How we live from those possibilities frame our new world. We are not called to be lights to banish the dark. Cockroaches scatter in the light, but they don't leave. Our bright being is called to be a spotlight on what must be changed. The courageous choices that we make in this moment and the coming moments will frame this brave new world. A brave new world. That's where we find ourselves now. The last 4 years have been one reality check after another. Much of it has been really painful. I will not understand why people do not live in a reality that we are in this together, why we have to have safety pins. Why does the color of skin, ethnicity, religion, gender, it goes on and on. I know I've left something out. Makes such a big difference to some people. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to reference my mom again. She was a simple woman with a big heart who did not believe in judging people based upon anything other than what was in their heart. She was quick to help those who needed assistance. She was a light that shone in the dark and scared away a cockroach or two. She made choices to be compassion's presence in this world. During these past 4 years, we've all made choices. Some have brought us further into the light, some have got us turned around and confused in the dark. A lot of people have woken up and are now shining brightly. But no matter where we find ourselves on the light continuum, in this moment, each of us can commit to being that spotlight that has the cockroaches scurrying away. We are the possibilities, the potential that can reframe our world into a place where we are truly in this together. What we choose in this moment, individually and collectively, ultimately impacts, changes our future moments. Now, we've got a long way ahead of us filled with uncertainty, and unfortunately, I believe there's going to be violence. Each of us needs to make a decision about the roots from which our actions are going to stem. So, at the root, how will you change to respond to the cataclysm in this country that continues to echo out into the world? As always, I'm a work in progress. In this moment, I choose to respond in a way that I've lived these past years with the compassion of Enough Plus, through relationship, being nonviolent, and by listening to my intuition. Let me know what you choose. So I want to thank you for listening, for watching this longer vlog that I have this week. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Additional resources, if you're struggling on how to get started, additional resources are available at vanessafhurst.com. I would love to work with you as an intuitive mentor to get you on that road to being really looking at the potential of how you can be your best, compassionate, nonviolent self in these times. If you'd like the 3 blogs referenced in their entirety, send me an email, make a comment down in the comments section of this. But no matter what you do, there is no more hiding. There's no more running away. There's staying here in the here and now, being our best selves so that we can impact the here and now, and ultimately the moments in the future. Thank you.